Why wouldn't you understand how money works in order to maximize what you can do for your family, the people you care and love the most in this world,
That brings up
right?
another point, Marty, is I think there's a lot of people that they save most of their lives for this thing called,
All they ask is, where do you want the money deposited? In the same bank account or somewhere else? Gonna
but he was going
happen?
to give most of that money away to somebody else's bank, not his own.
Oh, yes. I want to have access to the cash. And that's the craziest thing in life to realize is that the government decided that, hey, we have a great idea. We're going to help you save for retirement. But guess what? We're not going to let you touch that money because we don't trust you to handle your own retirement money. Like, what?
Most people know about qualified retirement plans. They're 401ks, 403bs, but most people have never ever heard of non-qualified retirement accounts or the benefits of a non-qualified retirement account. Marty, I know that you had an opportunity to kind of be challenged in a group full of 401k experts, and you were brought in to say, you know what? Your guy's way might not be the best way. Marty, tell me a little bit about what you did in that group of 401k experts and pension experts when you broke down non-qualified retirement planning.
Well, thanks, Chris, for having me. It was a really a wonderful opportunity to speak to a group of people. Most of the people knew me because of my background working with Security Mutual. The thing was, I'm the champion of the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker at Security Mutual Life, and everybody knows me for that. And I guess you could say they love me for that. Lots of people do, but a lot of people don't really understand it or practice it yet. And that's been my calling to get all the people I know, people who've really become my friends, to understand what this is all about and do it. So the wonderful thing was we had what we call a pension school. And they said, well, Marty, we know that you really don't hold with that idea of using qualified dollars. So why don't you talk about using dividend paying whole life insurance as a non-qualified retirement alternative for this group of people? Let's let them see how you would approach this what we would call a retirement problem. And so what I did was to look at the time when I did this, the amount that you could take out of a defined benefit pension plan was $175,000, which is great. But the point of that from the defined benefit plan was that it's 100% taxable. So I said, no way, no way. If I'm going to have my retirement, I want 100% tax-free retirement. And that's what I came up with. And that's what this presentation is all about.
All
All
I
right.
gotta know is were they friends like after you showed them what you're about to unleash here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just an easygoing guy, Chris. I'm just trying to win people over. So the idea behind this is, well, what was really the advantage of using this? Well, from my perspective, is you have a heck of a lot more control when you use after-tax dollars in order to do this as opposed to pre-tax dollars. You don't have all the government rules and regulations. Frankly, I believe because we're using a contract called whole life insurance, guess what? You have much less risk than you would if you're going to invest in a 401k or be at risk for actuaries choosing investments in order to make your money rise to the level that it needs to do in order to provide that kind of pension benefit. Right. So I like guarantees. I like less risk. And then most importantly, by using this method is I want to have access to the cash. And that's the craziest thing in life to realize is that the government decided that, hey, we have a great idea. We're going to help you save for retirement. But guess what? We're not going to let you touch that money because we don't trust you to handle your own retirement money. Like, what? Like, what? What are you saying to us? This is like, it's totally crazy. And they put in all these difficult rules in order to access any monies and then repay it into a 401k if you want to do that. So why do that if you could have a non-qualified alternative using dividend paying whole life insurance?
I like the
So,
sound of that.
right? So as I'm doing my presentation, I said, hey, look at all you can do with dividend paying cash value whole life insurance. Now, I can't do this with my 401k because guess what? I don't have access to cash like I'm going to have access to it there. So, why would I choose this alternative, the non qualified? Because I want to pay for my cars. Well, guess what? I've got to pay for my cars. If I keep putting all these thousands of dollars into a plan that I don't have access to, what good is that to me? So,
Well,
what
have
I'm
you
going to
ever
do
looked at,
is,
Marty, have you ever looked at how much money leaves a household, like just for how much they give away for cars? I mean, whether it's lease payments or interest, I mean, it's got to be millions of dollars
oh,
for the average
it's
family.
oh, people don't understand how much money they're really spending on the cars and the opportunity costs that they have here. So perhaps let me just point this out over here, Chris. Over here, I have this very successful 35-year-old. And again, because I was dealing with agents who are familiar with, not that familiar with becoming your own banker, I use what we call an whole base contract. I just paid the whole premium. All the premium went towards the death benefit. And for this particular individual, male 35, standard non-smoker, he paid in 122,000 for 10 years because this is a 10-pay policy. And he bought a net death benefit of 4 million. So that was great for his family at the time. And again, I was showing this because a lot of people think, well, hold it, wait a second, Marty, I don't want to be paying this premium my whole life. I just want to pay for a limited time. I just succumbed to letting them tell me what they wanted to do. So I said, okay, we're only going to pay for 10 years, but you're going to put in a substantial amount in order to have this prepaid, right? This is, you're done paying. You can't put any more premiums after this. This is the way that this is going to operate over here, right? So what happens over here is this. He puts in 125,000. You notice over there on the right, annual dividends, there's no dividends, right? Year two, there's no dividends. But guess what? He put in 122. He's able to access 55,000 to buy cars, right? That's it. So he's going to buy a car for 55,000 or two cars or whatever it was at the time we were thinking. And he's going to start repaying that loan. Now, Chris, if you take a loan from a dealership or from the bank in order to buy a car, how soon do you have to pay that back?
Right away.
Well, over here, notice under loan repayment, it says zero.
Yeah,
Now, why is it zero? Because who's in control when you take a policy loan?
you are the policyholder.
You are. The whole point is you're in control. So I just leave it blank there. I could have started paying it back and I pay less interest ultimately, but I said, no, I want to show that I don't even have to pay a loan back. I'm in control of it. Right. So at this point in time, it was a 5% loan. So 5% of 55 is 2,750. If you don't repay the loan interest in the first year, it accrues to the loan principal. And then I just pay it off in the next 4 years. Right. And so then what do I do in year 7? Oh, guess what? I'm gonna take a car loan now for 65,000 because, oh, guess what? Inflation happens, or I want a better car, or I want something else. And then what I keep doing along these lines, 5 years after that, I repay the loan. My contract is restored in year 15. So into year 12, I take a $75,000 loan. In year 17, an $85,000 loan. In year 22, a $95,000 loan. Oh,
And the
Chris.
thing I think that I want to make clear here is that, they're all making car payments. So all they're doing here is they're just making the car payment, but they're making it back to themselves or back to the policy, right? Because if I'm
Oh,
doing the math, I
oh
mean,
yeah.
so all we're
Yes.
doing is the same thing everybody else is doing already. They're making car payments.
Right. And every time I repay the car loan, in full, guess what happens to my contract? Well, my contract values are restored to exactly what they would have been as if no loan was taken. That goes for the net cash surrender value and the net death benefit. So that's what's taking place all along this time. I restore my contract to what it was, right? So what do I have to do if I'm thinking about this for my retirement? Oh, guess what? I want to produce 175,000. So in year 30, when I'm 65 years old, what is my net cash surrender value? It's
3.2 million.
$3.278 million. And my death benefit went from 4 million to 6 million bucks. Wow. Okay. My family's in good shape, whatever, but I'm good. But I used this 175 so I could compete against what they were going to produce from a defined benefit pension plan. Except My $175,000, because it's using policy loans, is received how?
Tax-free.
Tax-free.
Which is huge because I mean, if somebody were to take 175,000 from a pension or a 401k and pay tax on that, they're getting significantly less money than 175,000. Here, they're netting 175,000 because it's tax-free income that you're taking out.
It's tax-free income. That's right. So I'm going to do that for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, right? Whoops. No, I didn't show it all the way there. Actually, I take it for 30 years, 35 years.
Which would make you how old? At 30?
100.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
you know, if you're
and there's
60,
still some money at the end though, right? Like they're not out of money.
no, they're not out of money there. That's what it is here. But let me continue on here. I think I can go back and show you something a little different here. But now, the person we were dealing with here, he's a business owner, right? And so when you're a business owner, Chris, as you are, what do you have to do with your money sometimes? You got to invest in your business.
Yeah, always.
Right? You're either buying equipment, you're buying inventory, you're paying for all sorts of things, different software, or maybe you're in the business where you're loaning money out to people, doing all sorts of wonderful things, because who's in control of this? Is a life insurance company ever telling you what you can do?
No.
Never. Never. All they ask is, where do you want the money deposited? In the same bank account or somewhere else?
Right.
We'll put it there in the next 24 hours. So over here, my particular 35-year-old is 5 years older, whatever. Notice what the net cash surrender value is after putting in his 122,000 for 5 years.
440,000.
440,000. Well, guess what? He needs $400,000 for his business. So what is he going to do? Oh, he's going to take a policy loan.
I've done
right?
this.
And then he's not going to repay the loan in the first year. Yeah, I'm just doing that to show you that he doesn't have to. And then what happens when you take money to buy either more equipment or invest in other things there for your business? Oh, guess what? You make more money.
Right.
So what's he going to do? Well, he wants to start paying that loan back, right? So for the next 4 years, he's going to pay 112,805 based on what his loan is there, and he's going to repay the loan. So he took a $400,000 loan, and he's going to pay back almost it's like $50,000 in interest. Not bad. That's the way it's going to work. And then notice how the total loan gets to zero. Well, of course it's going to get to zero because he's repaid the loan. The contract is restored again. So what's he going to do? Oh, what? He's another opportunity. If you're an entrepreneur, opportunities abound for you, whatever. Here, I was just being modest. He's sitting on 1.2 million. He's only going to take 500,000. So that's what I wanted to show. He's going to take 500,000 and then he's going to not repay it right away, right? And then he's going to, in the first year, and then he's going to repay it. So for 500, he's going to pay 141,000 for 4 years. Then in year 16, he's sitting on 1.5 million. He's going to take a $600,000 loan. He's going to take a $1.5 million loan if you want to. In year 21, he's going to take a $700,000 loan and repay it. That's the whole process.
He's pretty much self-financing his entire business and business growth using his policy here.
That is correct. That is correct.
But this is for retirement still, right?
Well, again, ultimately, that was the task. The task was, what am I going to do? Well, how am I going to have money at the end for myself as a retirement alternative, right? So he does this. Notice over there in year 26, he took an $800,000 loan. He's repaid it. Oh, where does the money come from? Oh, that's from his business because he's making money, right? So he just calmly repaid it. He could have paid any amount. He could have paid it all up in the next year if he wanted to. It's under whose control?
That's his. He makes
his control. That's the whole purpose of becoming your own banker. You're in control. It's not like there's any rules or regulation. You make them. And so over here, what happens in year 30 when he's 65? Well, he's sitting on 1.2 million. And what's he going to do? What could he do? Right? He's going to take his 175,000.
But isn't he sitting on 3.2 million?
Yes, he's sitting on 3.2.
Oh, I think you misspoke. You said 1.2. I'm like, no, that's 3.278 million.
Well, then I'm just getting too excited here. No, he's sitting on 3.2. You are correct. Thanks for that. So he's going to take that and he's going to take it for 35 years. But guess what? Oh, man, when he bought this policy, his wife had twin girls, a blessing and a curse, right? He wishes he had more, whatever, but he has the twins. So 15 years from that point when he started this policy, guess what? They're going to be 18 and they want to go to college. They want to go to school. That's how they want to work. So what's he going to do? Oh, guess what? He's going to have to pay for this anyway. Well, what's he sitting on 15 years from now? Just based on the current dividend scale at that time it grew. He's sitting on a $4.5 million death benefit with 1.5 million of cash. So guess what? College 15 years from now, probably going to be higher than this. But at the time, this was before all the inflation took place. Guess what? Two girls, 150,000 apiece. He's going to take four $300,000 loans consecutively, not paying back. He's just, he needed the money. He took it. He and his wife, they're just going to take it. And then what are they going to do? Oh, guess what? They're going to start repaying that loan. Notice, even after he's taken out $1.2 million out of the contract, the death benefit is still 3.4 million in year 19. Amazing. So he's going to decide, the way I'm doing this right now is he's just going to say, all right, I'm going to just start paying this back out of my income and pay back the loan. And guess what? I'm going to pay back the 1.2 million loan. It's going to grow over that time because of interest. But guess what happens in year 30? He makes the final repayment on that particular loan. And what's he sitting on? He's sitting on the 3.2 million of cash value with his $6 million death benefit. And he's going to take that. Now, the crazy thing about this, Chris, is that guess what? In life, you're going to buy cars. The money's going to come from somewhere. If you have a business, you're going to spend money on your business. Money's got to come from somewhere. If your kids are going to school, you're going to have to pay for that. It's got to come from somewhere. We showed you how to do this all over here. Guess what? The whole thing about this is that he's going to be spending this money no matter what he's going to do. He still wants his money, or at least that's what I'm showing he's going to do. He can continue to do this for his whole life, even beyond age 65. It doesn't come to an end there. That's the other crazy thing that Nelson Nash would, say, like, wait a second, why are you even talking about retirement? Well, Nelson, I'm trying to do a presentation for guys about retirement, so I'm trying to show them how to do it here. So this is how it would work. But guess what? Just using this one particular dividend paying cash value whole life insurance policy, he could literally pay for everything. He could pay for his cars. He could pay for his business. He could pay for college for his daughters. And what we were able to do is create this just on the illustration itself, showing taking a car loan and then all the loans and repayments put all together. It's a phenomenal thing, but
so all of that was the same policy. You just showed different breakdowns, and now you're showing it all together.
I showed it individually, and now I'm just putting it all together. So the numbers are going to look pretty crazy. It's not like it's a spreadsheet that you can, I see this is going over here. I wanted to use the illustration to prove it to myself and to my colleague that guess what? We could do it all in the same policy, making it work here. It was pretty exciting to get to this point. So the whole point about this is we're paid back all the loans again in year 30. And what did we arrive at? The 3.2 million, the $6 million death benefit, and there's the 175,000 that we're going to take for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years. So if you took $175,000 of tax-free income for 35 years, that would equal to 6,125,000. Now, it would take a lot of defined benefit money. So it's take a lot more than $6.125 million in your qualified accounts in order to provide that income. But guess what? We just did it showing this one simple way to do it. So what I really want to do right now is just simplify what these numbers are so you can grasp it, keep it in your mind there, and understand how this really works here. So think about this. How much money have you paid in premium? Well, you paid $1.222 million, $1,222,350. That was the 10 premium payments that you made. Could have we had done it differently? Of course we could, because who's in control? Oh, guess what? We're in control, right? But how much have you borrowed? So think about this. We bought 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. I stopped at 95 because I just was losing count here. So that is 375,000 for the cars, right? But that's just the loan. That's not the loan principal. That's what it cost us to buy those cars, right? For our business, we took out 400, 500, 600, 700, $800,000, $3 million we invested into our business. Where did the cash come from? Oh, guess what? It came from our dividend paying whole life insurance policy. And then finally, for our daughters, because that's all I showed you, guess what? For his two daughters, he paid $1.2 million for college. If you add that all up, that's $4,575,000. Was he going to spend that anyway, Chris?
Yeah.
Is that what was going to
But he was
happen?
going to give most of that money away to somebody else's bank, not his own.
Oh, oh, yes, that's the whole point. That money would be in somebody else's pocket. So how much has he paid back? Well, using his dividend paying whole life insurance policy, he paid back $5,459,000, 130 in order to pay back those loans so he could restore the contract to get to his 3.2 million, $6 million death benefit. How much interest has he paid? Well, that's an easy calculation. It's his total loan repayments of 5.4 million minus his total loans, right? The actual loans, 4.5 million. So he paid an interest $884,130. So what is his net cash outlay? And Chris, I was thinking about this before we were talking, and I think this is a concept that we really need to work on, or really have people understand what this really means. So his net cash outlay, his out-of-pocket net cash outlay was 1.22 million, right? Plus all the interest he paid, right? Because the interest goes to whom? Right? It goes to the life insurance company. That's how the life insurance company makes money. That's the life insurance company has to make money because they use that money to do what? To pay all of their expenses, whatever, and to continue to pay dividends into your contract. Feel like Security Mutual, we pay dividends out for the past 134 years.
There's
134 years of dividends.
There's a couple important things here that I think people are maybe going to get hung up on, and that is, those payments, the loan repayments back to the policy. People are like, oh, see, you got to pay the policy back. Yeah, but those payments would have been car payments that you would have made to finance companies. Those would have been loan payments you would have made to some bank for your business loans. Those would have been college loan payments you would have made to, one of the college loan companies out there, which are, from my understanding, are not very forgiving if you don't pay them. So all of this stuff that we're talking about, all these numbers, every one of these dollars you would have paid anyway, but you wouldn't have paid them back to yourself. You would have paid them to somebody else. And then the other thing too, go down to the loan interest. It was like, some people are going to be hemming and hawing about the loan interest that the insurance company charges. So the other thing too to realize is I very much doubt over those periods of time, if we were to go back and look at what the average interest rate was on cars, average interest rate on business loans, if you could even get one, that's the other thing. Like, we didn't have to apply for these loans. We just went online or made a phone call and they just sent the money to our account within 36 hours. But that $884,130 in interest is probably significantly less than what you would have paid on bank financing, because the loan interest rate on a policy loan is significantly less in most cases than what is charged on the street for normal loans. So that's another factor.
That's another factor, but I want to point out this one thing over here. What I'm pointing out over here, Chris, is in the first 5 years. Now, if I put in, right, I want you to concentrate on the net cash outlay column, right? So over here, I put in 125,000. I didn't take a loan. And the next year, I took a $55,000 loan, right? And so to the life insurance company, it looks like I only put in 122,235 minus 55,000, right? In the third year, I start repaying the loan. So my net cash outlay is going to be my premium, the 122,000 plus 15,511. Under net cash outlay, that's $137,746, right? So if you look under net cash surrender value, I gave the company $137,746 And what showed up in my cash value that I have
Almost
access
all of
to?
it.
Almost all of it, right? So let's
That
look at
doesn't
the
work
next
that
year.
way when you buy a car using
Oh, I
somebody
don't
else's
think
bank.
so. No, I don't think so. So in the fourth year, I pay my premium. I pay my loan repayment of 15,000. It's going to be the same. It's going to
And
be
bear in mind, that would have been the
137.
same amount you would have paid on a car loan no matter what.
That's right. That's exactly right. If you had the same rate that you had as a life insurance company. So that's the 137,746. And my cash value increased by what?
Oh, it looks like it's 276,923.
So that's right. So if you add, think about this. If you add the net cash surrender value at the end of year three, the 136,649 plus what you paid in both premium and loan repayment, the 137,746. If you add those two numbers together, every dollar of that 137,746 that you paid to the life insurance company in year four, all of it shows up as your cash value. All of it.
So you effectively got all the money back for the policy and the interest that you paid. Plus, if you died the next day, your family gets 3.9 plus million dollars.
That's right. And from
Why
every
doesn't everybody
point,
do this?
right. So every point forward after that point, after year four, every dollar that you paid in interest is going to show up as cash value in your contract.
Well, I've never seen this done in an illustration format. I've seen
Right.
it done on Excel sheets or in software, but not on an
Right.
illustration.
But it can be shown on the illustration. That is the amazing thing.
Wow.
And it's once you understand that. So yeah, you did pay $884,000 in interest. But Chris, if I pay interest after year four, right? Or in year starting in year four in this particular design, if every dollar that I paid, not only does my loan principal show up, but even my loan interest shows up back where?
Wow.
Back in my policy.
And this is just a normal off the shelf 10 pay, nothing like the specially
There's
designed and engineered ones
no,
we
this
do
is
now.
no, this is, and again, the reason I use this non-specialized design was because of the audience that I was speaking to, just so they could see
Bunch of
that
naysayers.
you know, I guess you and I have to get used to running into a lot of
Oh, yes.
naysayers in our life. But the point is, at any point going forward, every dollar that you paid into the life insurance company shows up where. This is why Nelson Nash said that the infinite banking concept not only was it a major paradigm shift, a life-changing shift, but that this was a personal wealth building strategy. Where else could you do this? Pay for just the common expenses that you know you're going to have to pay for cars, for your business, for your kids' education, and all of it shows back up. And the crazy thing, and we don't even have to do this, is this, Chris. What's your retirement income? You're sitting on 3.2 million. You could, if you wanted to, just let the money sit there. Let's say you're a lazy person. Yeah, like me. Like I'm a lazy person. Like maybe I don't want to be involved in any other investments. Maybe I don't want to lend money to people. Maybe I don't want to do anything. Maybe I'm just going to shut things down, whatever. But even if I shut things down and not try to take even more advantage of the monies that I have, I could still take $175,000 tax free income for 35 years. That's 6.125 million. But you could use that money differently. You could invest all of it somewhere else if you get a better return or a better situation that you wanted to be in because it's under your control. So the question I had at the end of my presentation for my naysayers was, well, what do you think is the best solution for your clients?
And what did
Is
they
it
say?
well, a whole bunch of them started doing banking stuff there. A whole bunch of them, because of their age, said, well, maybe we should incorporate this potential solution also there. Because again, what's the problem with qualified plans? Well, there's limitations on how much money you can put in. So there is no limitation really on how much you can put into your life insurance policy other than your own personal financial situation along those lines.
I mean, this is incredible. The
So
only
why
thing,
not? So why not do both? Why not have both? Why not hedge your bet even more? Again, right? You could do it. You want to put money in the qualified plan? I guess you could, right? But if you're young, I would say this would be the better way to go. Always there. The best solution. You want to be in control. You want to have access to cash.
Marty,
That's
I
how it
always tell
works.
people, because I always ask, oh, should I do this or a 401k? I always tell them, I said, you can do both. I said, with the 401ks, one of the main reasons people put money in a 401k or some type of a qualified retirement plan is because they get a match. So if the
Right.
company matches you 4%, sure, put 4% of your pay, but that isn't what most people do. Most people
Right.
aren't just putting in up to the match. They're putting in 10, 12% of their paycheck into the 401k because somebody told them that's what they should do. Where I
Yeah.
tell them, just put in up to the match, redirect the rest of the money into this program, into your specially designed whole life,
Correct.
and then be your own bank and use it to buy your cars, fund your business, pay for college, and then get a tax-free retirement like you just showed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just something that, again, why do people do things? Because they're told to do things. And it's it's not as if we live in a society which is trying to say, well, wait a second. You need to think of your family almost as your business. Your family is your business. It's the most important business you have. Why wouldn't you understand how money works in order to maximize what you can do for your family, the people you care and love the most in this world,
That brings up
right?
another point, Marty, is I think there's a lot of people that they save most of their lives for this thing called retirement. They hit retirement and then they're hesitant to take money from their retirement account. So they take less, they live on less because they want to make sure that they have money to leave to their kids. But like in this is self-completing. You could deplete all the cash value in the policy and you still have a death benefit that's going to pay out tax-free to your kids. So I look at this as like a self-completing retirement where you should try to spend as much as you can during your lifetime
Yes.
because
Yeah.
when you do that, like you're enjoying your life, you're fulfilling your life, your business, your whatever it is you're trying to do. And then at the end, the death benefit's still going to pay out no matter what.
Right. I mean, think about this, Chris. I brought up the screen to show. Let's say you did, according to what society used to say, you're going to retire at age 65. 10 years later, you took out 10 years of 175,000. That's 1.75 million tax free. What's your death benefit, when you're age 70 and you're 40 of the contract? It's still
5.5.
5.5 million. It's like, if you did it for another 10 years, now you're 80 years old. You took out over 3 million bucks. I mean,
Well, the thing
it's just
is
mind-boggling, and you still have 4.5 million.
yeah,
It's
anywhere you look. I mean, if you took all the cash value out of the contract, like if you took every penny of it, there's still a healthy death benefit. I mean, even at the 50 years into this thing, and not that I would expect anyone is still around
right.
then, but maybe, there's 2.7 million after they took all that money out. That's what's left in cash value. Let's just say they took that out to go for one last bender, and they got 4.585 million in
Right.
death benefits. So you take the 2.7 million minus the 4.5 million. That's what gets paid
Right.
out.
Right. Right. And even if you made it all the way to 100,
121.
100, well, 100 over here in this particular example, you would have taken out over 6 million bucks and you're still sitting on 1.3. It's pretty amazing there. But again, it's, as Nelson would always say, Chris, how you think makes all the difference in the world. And that's all this is about. You just need to think differently than what people are telling you. You need to understand your family really is your business. That's why you need to understand these concepts. That's why you just don't go to work and earn money. You might be able to make a lot of money here. It's the
Wow.
crazy thing in my experience. I live in New York City, and I'm around a lot of high powered, high earners, whatever, people who work for big investment banks, things like that. And I've had the opportunity to speak to people, and you know, the 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 strangest thing for me is, in my fantasies, is that people who work in these things understand what they're doing, right? Or they understand how to make money, or they or they're able to do it. But guess what? That's not really the truth. For the most part, lots of people who make lots of money aren't aware of these different concepts. They've been blessed, they've been lucky, they've made a lot of money, but I talk about myself as being the lazy investor or the lazy person who just wants to do this stuff. A lot of people are like that. And again, it's like, just imagine if you really understood what you could do with your money, how you could, depending on where you place it, depending on how you save it, where you put it, really determines a lot of what your future is going to be and how successful you're going to be ultimately in life, and what you're able to enjoy, what you're able to leave to your family, all those things.
Couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things I always say to people is, there's a lot of people who are quote unquote rich or wealthy in that matter. And I
Yes.
would just say to them, I say, okay, great. Now you've gotten to this point. Now prove you can keep it. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, as you all know, because you've seen it, they make a whole bunch of money. Look at athletes, right? Make a whole bunch of money and then they're bankrupt. They're broke because they
Yeah.
have not
Yeah.
learned how to keep the wealth that they've built. This system that you just showed here, it's almost foolproof. I mean, if you control the banking aspects in your life, like we just showed, the cars, the college, the business financing, like how could you ever go broke? All you do is you keep getting wealthier because you're paying back your banking system, not somebody else's. So as long as you're, living within the realm of what you've created in your banking system, you're not going to go broke.
Right. And the wonderful thing about this is when you look at, when you take loans, when you do things like that, I was showing paying loans back regularly.
Mhm.
I made a calculation so everybody could see it nice and simply. But the truth of the matter is the system is even better than what I've illustrated, because you are in total control of when you do it. I mean, years ago, I did this presentation, Chris, and I had like the grandparents wanted to pay for the kids' education, right? That was the whole point. The grandparents wanted to pay for the kids' education, but they didn't have the cash flow, right? They didn't have the cash flow to do it. But what they did have were these life insurance policies on each other. And so understanding this, they counseled their adult children, their son and daughter-in-law, to spend their cash on it, with the promise that all the monies that you're spending on our grandchildren's education will all come back to you upon our death, because of the death benefit that will repay all the loans that you put out for our grandchildren when they were much younger. And I waited 30 years to repay the loan. So it was like one lump sum loan to repay everything. But again, when everybody has to understand this, when you repay the loan plus policy loan interest, you restore that contract to what it would have been, as long as the dividend scale has remained the same. But the point is, if you restore the contract, then even at that point in time, 20, 30 years later, the contract performs exactly like this is going to perform. You're going to be able to do that. It's even more flexible than you can imagine. And it's all under your control, which is the whole point of becoming your own banker. You want control.
Well, this has been fantastic, Marty. I hope the people that listen to this episode get a lot from it and really just apply this. And,
Yeah.
Their lives and their families' lives would be so much better for it.
Right. Yes, absolutely. You will change your life if you do this process. If you go through the system here of understanding what it is to become your own banker, if you want to use the money multiplier, if you want to use the infinite banking concept, it is going to change the way you think, and it's going to change the way you act, all for the better. All for the better.
Love it. All right, Marty. Well, thanks again for your time. And folks, all of you watching this, thanks for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you back for the next one.